So I show up, and I'm actually in this office, although it was much smaller at the time. And I'm thinking, why am I here? And it turned out it was his bookkeeper and his manager. And he had them come in, and he actually told them what they'd found and fired them on the spot. And I'm in the corner of this office thinking, why am I here? I'm like, 20 years old. I'm like, I don't know.
Welcome to this special edition of the Independent Dealer Podcast, coming to you in person, in the flesh, from Auto City. Luke, who do we have with us today?
I tell you, I love this setup. We got multiple cameras, and this is one of our biggest interviews ever, I think. My friend, Blake Ingram from Auto City in Dallas. Thank you for being here.
Oh, absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and well, we're here. Yeah. We're actually with him, so he's not here, but yeah, okay. We are going to kind of talk about your history in the car business. Auto City, 67 years in business.
Absolutely.
You're not 67.
I'm not 67.
So how did we get there?
Oh, well, I mean, you're familiar with this process.
Yeah, I am, and it's a Papa had a dealership, right?
Yeah,
PhD.
that's a PhD, yeah.
PhD, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dad started in 1958 and started just with one car. I actually started curb stoning.
Yeah.
So he was actually a curb stoner when he started.
That you know how many times that has come up? Like a lot of times we interview and the person, well, I was a curb stoner.
Yeah.
And people get all excited, about curb stoning. Yeah. I don't care about curb stoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what he did, and so he got successful with it, and had a couple of different stores. And as I was growing up, and this store was probably one of his third or fourth stores that he opened sequentially, not at the same time.
Never. He didn't have multiple at once.
No. Just this one store, and this store opened in 1976.
76 right here.
Right here.
This place is older than me.
It is indeed.
And vastly older
than you.
It
Looks
looks
better than you do.
You're right about that.
It was much smaller. So at that time, it was a little portable building. It was like 500 square feet, just portable building. Yeah. Tire strips on the lot, and just the old school. Yeah. So I really had no intentions of doing this, and so I was at Southern Methodist, and had no idea what I was going to do. But Dad called me and said, hey, I need a favor. I need you to come help me out, because I heard that there was some employees embezzling. And Dad was an old school wheeler dealer. I mean, he could. You did not want to trade with my dad. You were going to lose.
Yeah.
But numbers were not his thing.
So was he buy here, pay here, or was he just retailing cars?
Buy here, pay here from day one.
Wow.
Yeah. Back in the day when really, he would tell customers, "Don't worry about it. I'll tell you when you're done."
That would be perfect, right?
Yeah, some 3x5 cards, and your down payment would be your cost of car.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way it was.
Yeah.
And so that's what he did. And so he asked me to come in and help him find that embezzling.
Did you have were you working on an accounting degree, or how did he know that you were going to be able to find that money?
I'd had some accounting at Southern Methodist, and so I guess he just assumed that I could. So I came in, spent a couple of weeks working here, and found it fairly quickly.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a substantial amount of money.
Wow.
And so showed him, and he said, hey, I need you to show up in Monday morning here. And I'm like, I can't, I got classes. And my dad's like, no, you don't understand, I need you here. And so my dad, you're like, yes, sir, I will be here. So I show up, and I'm actually in this office, although it was much smaller at the time. And I'm thinking, why am I here? And it turned out it was his bookkeeper and his manager. And he had them come in, and he actually told them what they'd found and fired them on the spot. And I'm in the corner of this office thinking, why am I here? I'm like, 20 years old. I'm like, I don't know, why am I here? And he told the manager that if you will show me how to do the books over the next few weeks, Dad, he won't prosecute him.
Show me as in you.
As in me. I'm in school. But he's like, well, I need you to do this. And so I did. I had to start doing the accounting for the company. And
Any idea how big the portfolio was at that point when the money was being stolen?
yeah, absolutely. That time, there was 350 accounts, and the portfolio balance was right about $700,000.
Okay. And what year was that?
That was 1984.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great gig. So from that point, you were I don't know, forced in or thrust into the dealership. Was it that moving forward, or did you go back to school, finish your education, or did the bug bite you as well? And you were like, okay, it's in my DNA. I like this.
This is more like a flea bite, not a getting into the car business. Not a bug bite.
You got bitten.
Well, so I came in and did the books, and then he hired a bookkeeper, and I trained that bookkeeper, and I went back to school. That bookkeeper actually went nuts. Seriously.
That makes sense for the buy or pay your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I had to come back in again and kind of clean up things, and then hired another bookkeeper. And this happened another time. This one didn't go nuts. He just didn't pay anything.
Yeah.
So this time I was like, okay, I need to convert everything away from all of this paper, because that's part of the problem is that everything is, the old pegboards and the paper, and just wasn't a lot of control. And so I came in and converted everything to computers. And that was in 1986.
What were you using, like Tandy 1000s? I mean, what are we talking about in '86? That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. I remember being very proud of the computer because it had a 1 gig drive. It was like it's nothing now, of course.
Right.
Yeah, we used Go Barnes had a system that was really, really good, and so we used that system. And then after school, I just kept working here. And years later, I asked my father how I ended up here, because I did not make this decision consciously.
Yeah.
I did not make this decision. I am going to be a used car dealer.
Yeah.
I went to school, got my degree, but yet I ended up selling used cars. And he said, well, I bribed you. And I'm like, I don't think that's true. And he goes, no, I bribed you. I was like, you're going to have to explain that. And he goes, no, when you got through converting everything to computer, I gave you a bonus. And I was like, oh, that's right. I was 21 years old, and you gave me a $50,000 bonus. I mean, at that point.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and so I mean, he bribed me.
Yeah. You saw the path to financially independent life at that point, and when what you saw is maybe your dad slinging $500 cars for cash and collecting payments,
Well, I was doing the books.
And you got to do the books, so you knew.
I
knew
saw
how
it.
much
Yeah,
money was coming in.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, I just started right after school. I just picked up full time here and just kept doing it.
Yeah, I think so many dealers wonder what the next step will be for themselves, their dealership. Will their kids be interested?
Yeah.
And to a good point, sometimes it does take time. They might not show interest in their teenage years or in their early 20s or something, but the opportunities come up, and sometimes it's the best people that you wouldn't think would be the best operators or have no interest come in from a different genre. I mean, it doesn't seem like you were a car guy.
Oh no, I'm still not probably a car guy.
Yeah.
No, I love cars, but I'm really not a car guy.
But you love the numbers.
But I love numbers, and I love the art of the deal, if you will. So I mean, I could be selling widgets, and the fun part of the business is how to make it all go faster and quicker and do more. That's the part that I enjoy.
Yeah, and you did that. At what point did you look at opening that second location? Like, where did that come from? Because it sounded like your dad was maybe content with just right here.
He had a second store that he was a partner with, where he didn't run it, but he was just funding the person. When that person wanted to retire, that was my opportunity to go ahead and pick up a second store, and I bought that guy out. And then over time, just as opportunities come along, then adding on stores here and there. But it's always this challenge. It always feels like it's a step forward to open up new stores. But I'm sure you've talked to a lot of people that don't really have good experiences with doing that.
you have to be on your P's and Q's to open up multiple stores. And we've seen disastrous consequences in people over leveraging to open up stores or spreading themselves too thin to open up multiple stores.
But it was different, back if you go back to the 90s, and at that time, and this is all pre-internet, right? It was drive-by,
Yeah.
right? So it was like, okay, I need to be visible so that people as they go by can see my stores. Well, that's all gone now, right? You don't need drive-by.
Yeah, you can have a warehouse.
That's right.
Yeah.
So having all of these stores is really not a plus anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean we're 35 or 45 interstate here. I mean there's hundreds of thousands of cars running by here. So, but when you're looking back at that point, acquiring these locations have probably done well just in themselves in Dallas real estate, right?
They have, yeah. So that's certainly been a plus, is that if you can pick up the real estate, that has been a huge plus.
Do you feel like that's I guess I'd ask, what was the catalyst for you opening multiple stores? Because you got up to 5 or 6 at one point?
The highest we had was 7 stores.
7?
Yeah.
So were those all because I want to be in that community and I want to sell more cars in that community? Was it real estate play because you saw great deals on property? Was it to grow your, what pushed those to 7? Because that does sound like a lot. That's an operation.
Yeah, so unfortunately that answer is all the above. Because there were times when we opened up stores, like the store in our Lancaster, it was just a great opportunity. I mean, it was one of those things where I saw the facility, it was really, in my opinion, too cheap, had to have it, and so bought it and did really well. Another store is similar. But at one point, we always carried a more expensive car. That's one of the very first changes I did when I took over, was I elevated the price of the cars that we were selling. My dad was selling at that time cars that were, a couple $1,000s, and so I pretty much doubled that.
Yeah.
That's been true all the way through my career, and so I've always sold a more expensive car, and I knew I was leaving a lot of sales on the table in the cheaper car. But I didn't want to do it under this brand, and so we created a second brand, and that created some of those additional stores where we had a completely different brand, a different car, a different model.
Same finance company, just a different brand.
That's right, yeah.
So smart.
Well, I mean, you say it's smart. It worked well for a number of years. Ultimately, I did close them. And I think that where I made a mistake was that you can't operate that lower ACV brand the same way that you're operating the higher.
Yeah.
How so?
That makes sense.
Well, for these cars that we offer a 2-year warranty on all the cars, we wanted to do that same thing for those cheaper cars.
It doesn't work.
That doesn't work.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
Recon's different as well.
Recon's different. Everything's just a little bit different, and we try to run them a little bit too similar. And
on these $15,000 to $20,000 ACV cars, you've got to paint every bumper. And if you carry that model to the $5,000, it doesn't work.
it doesn't work.
It eats up margins so quickly.
Yeah, so I did really well in the very first probably 6-7 years with that, and then as I start trying to maybe make it too much like the other ones, it kind of became less effective. And then 2, it's just a lot more work.
Yeah.
It is.
It's great margins, a lot of work.
Yes. It's a more needy customer.
The collections, the policy,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
And we have my salesmen talk about that a lot. Like, oh, we need that cheaper car. Like they can't, they can only afford this. And you're like, I don't really want that customer, to be honest with you. Like,
We moved away from that customer. We don't want to go back.
But it's a good place to start. I think that's where you need to begin as a dealer. And it is more needy and it is more hands-on, but eventually you graduate.
I call it hand-to-hand combat, honestly.
That's a good point.
And if you don't want to be in that every day, you can't replicate it. It gets hard, but it made sense back then. Let's talk about your dad wasn't leveraged at all.
Right? No, he had a little debt.
A little debt.
A little debt. I think that if I remember right, it was a couple $100,000.
Okay.
I mean, very little.
Very little. Yeah. And to operate something to the size, how many accounts did you have at your largest?
At my peak, 5,000 accounts.
5,000 accounts. That is a lot of accounts.
That's a lot of accounts.
It's a lot of accounts, and you've got to have some type of leverage to get to that point. How did you how did you come to that? How did you sell it to your dad? And like, where did that? Where did you realize you had to have that cash to get it done?
One of the big pluses is that my dad and I had a fantastic relationship. So a lot of father sons that are in business together struggle.
Yeah, I know these things.
I did not.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. But I actually had a fantastic working relationship, and he really allowed me to make a lot of changes very quickly.
Wow.
And so he was really okay with it. And as long as I guess we were successful, he was willing to go along with it. Too, my dad was older by the time I came. I'm the youngest of three. So my dad pretty much retired. I started in 1986 full time. By 2000, he was out. He was retired. But yeah, we did take on a lot of debt. It's a little scary.
Yeah.
When I look back on it now, I wouldn't want to be there now.
Right.
I think at our peak, we were leveraged at about near 60 cents on the dollar.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were up there.
And what we talk about the high interest rates that we are currently, the environment we're currently in, and
It's really not that high.
it's really not that high, right? So compare and contrast when you started, what the interest rate was and how low maybe you paid, and where we are now in the market and what that does to the economics of what we do.
Well, my memory's not good enough to pull that number out of my head,
I know better.
but it was high. I mean, I want to say that, back at the very beginning, it was 10, 12%. Very high.
Yeah.
But
We have some people out there listening, they're probably paying 15% and say, what are you talking about? That's not high, but that's a different situation.
yeah. So it's just a matter of working it down over time, and certainly that's part of the goal of adding the cheaper line was to work that debt down, right? Because I mean, we were taking a lot of vehicles that were being repossessed, and they didn't quite fit for this higher model.
Yeah.
But so instead of just wholesaling them and taking that loss or taking that hit, selling them on the cheaper model actually helped us deleverage.
Yeah.
Because we could take
You
that.
could retail out of those repos instead of wholesale out of them. We talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
When we talk about recycling repos because you need that cheap car, and it's cash you've already spent. So now you're just spending a little bit more to recon it, and hopefully it's still a good product. And if you start with a high ACV like you did, it can still be a good product.
Yeah, you can make quite a few turns on it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And you lose so much money at wholesale.
yeah.
So much
Yeah,
money.
nobody buys my repos.
No.
As they shouldn't, because they are no good. Blake, what I want to ask you about is you and your dad had a great relationship, and we see this a lot with dealerships and the transition of power. So from '86 to 2000, you guys had a transition where he was still in the dealership day to day. It was still his baby. He built it, all this stuff. I brought my son in. What did you see was did you have a hard time at some point taking the reins and saying, yeah, Dad, that's how you used to do it, but this is how we're going to do it now? Like, can you think of any arguments or disagreements that came up, and how did you resolve those? Because I know dealers that are listening, and if they're second generation, that is a real struggle, because obviously
It can be.
we have all the answers. We know everything. Our kids know nothing, right?
Yeah.
So as smart as my kid could be coming up into the dealership, I'm going to fight every change he wants to make because he's some young punk that doesn't know nothing, and I'm going to tell him how to do it. Did you ever have those battles, or how did you get through those?
I won't call them battles. I can only remember one battle where I literally just had to say, look, I don't know if this is going to work. And honestly, that freaked him out so bad that it was just like,
That was it.
Yeah, okay, whatever. But, it's just a give and take, right? I mean, because I have to listen to him because, he's the one that has all the experience. And so
His name's on the license still,
yeah,
I'm
a
sure.
lot of it was me listening to him going, well, I get that. And, if I think I'm right, I need to prove the point, right? So I can't just say I want to do this. I have to explain it and show it and prove it. But I have to say again, though, I mean, he was very willing. I mean, we didn't have any kind of warranty when I started.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the first things I did, and he went along with it just fine.
That's awesome.
Doubling the price of the car. Again, he was nervous about it, but he was totally fine with me trying it.
Speaking of the warranty situation, when did you start a reinsurance company?
Oof. I don't know. So far back that I can't remember.
Wow. Okay. Probably before anybody knew what reinsurance was.
It was early on because of the 20 groups. I mean, I was exposed to it at a 20 group meeting. I'm going to say probably maybe 20, 25 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah.
And in terms of deleveraging, I mean, it is slow, but it works to help deleverage the having the reinsurance companies.
Using CPI to do that? Or?
CPI in particular.
Okay.
I mean, CPI, that over time can generate a lot of money that will help you deleverage.
Was CPI something that you did as soon as you started your reinsurance company? Was that the reason you started? I mean, you talked about warranty, so I assume that's the reason you started.
The very first one was for warranty.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that was basically tax deferral.
Yeah. I think that's the reason everybody kind of starts there, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, totally.
Or used to, I should say.
But then, over time, when the CPI became popular, and when I was exposed to it, I saw the potential there of really generating a lot of extra revenue.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing way to generate that extra revenue.
Yeah, I mean think about it. You had 3,000 accounts.
5,000.
5,000 at one point. Even if you had a 50% penetration,
And it was much higher than that, I'm sure.
25.
In the beginning, it was close to 50%.
Yeah.
We're higher now.
Yeah.
We're at 3,500 accounts now, and now we're at 80% penetration.
Jeez Louise. So if I had 3,000 accounts paying me an extra $100 a month in CPI,
It's a lot.
I don't do public math,
it's
but
a big
that's
number.
a lot of money.
It's a big number, but you have accidents, of course, that you have to repair and charge off. But I mean, in Texas, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, honestly.
Were there other things, Blake? I mean, honestly, when we talk to you about this, it seems like I'm trying to think of a misstep you might think you have had, because it sounds like things went pretty well with the transition of power. You came in, you were ahead of your time on reinsurance and warranty. You saw the vision of CPI and you took advantage of that early. Is there anything you would say over those period of growth that you maybe shouldn't have done? Or you would say, hey, maybe I misstepped here, or I would maybe not repeat this step and didn't go quite the way I planned?
Well, I'm sure if I thought about it long enough, I'd come up probably with a list.
Yeah.
There would probably be a lot of things. And one I already talked about was if I would have run that cheaper line a little differently, I probably would still be running that line today. And so I think that I take the blame for messing up that.
And that's truly treating it like a separate dealership, like separate management, separate recon shop, separate mentality. And the RFC can be the same, because that's
Absolutely.
just collection practices. And maybe the way you administer those, because your collections team needs to know this one has this warranty, this one has this one. So there's some nuances. But what you're basically saying is make it its own baby, make it stand or sink based on its own.
Yeah, don't try to run them the same.
Yeah.
And that's where I made a mistake. And I think the other thing is that when you had the crash of 08, that there, 08 was horrible in terms of collections. All of us took large losses in 08 as people lost their job in the Great Recession. But when you came out of that and you were looking at late 09 through about 2012, we had an enormous influx of customers coming to us that were much better credit-wise than anything that I had ever seen in my life. And I think I get I think everybody tends to, you kind of get into this pattern of what you're comfortable with, and this is what I sell, and I need to hit this many per month, and you kind of get into that rut. But there was a moment there where several years I could have accelerated and done way more than I did. And I kind of got jaded to the fact that this is what the credit I had coming in. But really that credit was, I would love to have that credit today.
Yeah, wouldn't we all?
I mean, like now, I mean, I look at what I get today and it's really pretty rough. But I wish I would have done more there. I wish I would have noticed that this is a unique opportunity that I didn't really grab.
And that's interesting. I mean, we all can look back at that time. And you and I were talking about this earlier. I mean, you could buy as many cars as you wanted to. You could bring them back, you recon them pretty cheaply, and you could sell them almost immediately because everybody had pulled back.
$3,000 to $4,000, cost times 2 plus 1,000.
Yeah,
Had a great margin, and
new car stores were not selling cars with with more than 60,000 miles. So you were getting this primo inventory. We're getting primo customers. And I'm with you. I mean, if we had the capital to just run during that time, it would have been great. Now let's compare that to what we just went through, where we had an opportunity where consumers had the cash, and they had the cash to buy, and they had the cash to make their payments for a couple of years, but the inventory was so high. I mean, where does that leave us if the kind of inverse of that?
Well, it's been a struggle. When the inventory got super tight, we were forced to buy cars that we didn't really want to buy, that really did not have as much life left in them. We did benefit from when there was a period there of about 4 months where the market just tanked.
And we're talking like March of 2020 through June or July of 2020.
Yeah.
You could buy cars.
You can buy all you want.
And this was interesting. How many extra did you buy?
I bought an extra 500 cars.
500 cars.
which is double what you were doing before.
It was double my inventory.
Wow.
I wish I'd have bought quadruple. If I had known, I mean, I remember stopping.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I mean, I've already got an extra 500 cars. What if this doesn't?
Yeah.
What if this doesn't go well? I mean,
Because
we didn't know.
We're talking $5 million extras in cars at least, right? Could have been more.
More. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I was uncertain, how is this going to go, right? And I pulled up. I pulled back and thought, okay, this is enough.
Yeah, you got it.
But I mean, in hindsight, I would have, picked up another 500.
But nobody can blame you for pulling back because there were people that just stopped buying.
Oh, absolutely.
And there were people who had to stop buying because they didn't have a credit line. I mean, they didn't have a floor plan.
And their auctions, I mean, a lot of them were shut down. You couldn't even go inside some of them. And Texas, you had a lot of liberties, but other states, they weren't going anywhere. And they weren't doing, people, we were doing this remote delivery thing and people weren't coming on the lot. So to have the vision that this was going to end and it wasn't the end of the world is
I had a
incredibly
vision, but
smart.
hope, certainly a lot of hope. And I think the other thing too that I did well during that time period where there was a lot of dealers that were laying off people, that were furloughing people, saying, we don't know. I've got staff that's been with me for decades. And so, one of the first things that we did is we sent out a notice to all the employees saying, we're not laying off anyone. Whether we have to be closed or not closed,
You have a job.
you have a job. And I think that paid dividends for us.
I'm sure it did. Because it got really hard to hire during that time. And how many employees do you have working for you?
At that time, we had 120 or 30.
Okay.
Wow.
Now we're down with shutting down some stores.
I want to talk about that, but just real quick, did you static pool those cars out of curiosity?
Yeah.
Do you know that did that pan out?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, that 2021 notes, they barely charged off. They barely charged off.
It's you look at it now and just go, wow. I can't. I've got static pools going back to the 90s, and it's just this weird trough that's right there.
Yeah.
And
the cars were great. They did good. The customers paid up through 2022, 2023.
You had,
and now
you had all that pride of ownership too, right? Because we were buying cars that we didn't normally carry.
Yeah.
We were buying, 1 and 2 year old trucks. you couldn't buy that vehicle, and still can, but.
And what was interesting too is the book values shot up so much in 22, 23 that these people saw that they had equity
They
sooner.
could trade. They could,
Well,
or they could trade them.
We had so many people trade.
That's what we had. That too.
Even my repos, I remember logging repos only a couple years ago, and I was like, oh wow, this thing's actually
It's worth more than
Yeah,
what
no,
I paid
we
for
made
it.
money.
Right?
Yeah, we made
You were
money.
like, oh, that's weird.
So Blake, let's transition to today and maybe a little bit of the future. So when you say you went from 7 stores down to 2 right now, what was there a catalyst for that? Is it simplifying your life? Is it market conditions? Like, why this transition currently?
Well, we shut down 3 stores in the last 6 months. And it was, I don't have a third generation coming. So there is not another generation. Not sure that I'd want a third generation. Third generations don't work out well. So it's really just to a point in my life where for decades and decades, I worked 60, 70 hours a week. Really poured everything I had into this. And I don't want to work that hard. And so now I'm back to a fraction of that. And it's just not possible to do with a bunch of stores. Much easier to do with just 2 stores. Really thought that I would start to pull down the portfolio quite a bit. It hasn't been that long since we shut those stores down, but it has been, at this point now, 6 months. Well, the portfolio's dropped very little because actually we ended up picking up a lot of those sales anyway.
So it made it. I mean, it makes it easier to run at that point.
Oh, much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 2 less service centers.
Yeah.
So we shut down 2 service centers, 3 stores, shaved a lot of employees.
And what's the expense? I mean, the difference in expenses, is it half of what it was, or is it?
It's not half, but it's a good solid third less.
Wow.
And because those remote locations are not super costly to run, but they add a lot of complexity to the operation.
And I mean, that's just straight to the bottom line at that point.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've picked up shutting down 3 stores. We've only cut our sales by about 30 a month.
Wow.
So
Sales?
30 a month, and
That's it.
Yeah.
So what are y'all selling a month now? 150?
130.
130. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, in hindsight, though, I mean, now that I think, look at it, I go, well, I mean, I should have shut those down ages ago.
Yeah, but I mean, the value of that real estate now is higher.
It is high. And so one of those properties, 2 of those properties I've sold.
Yeah.
One of them I didn't own, and so I just returned it. Yeah.
And you paid them. I imagine it's almost like the reinsurance. Like owning the property that's under your dealership is a forced savings account with appreciation.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so we always talk about dealers like, please try to own the land you're on top of. Like that is a number 1 goal of a dealership because if nothing else, you're building equity in the land for some future
and
point.
it's also a future a way to borrow money and deleverage. Right.
Yeah, that's true. They will lend on land all day long. They will not lend on your receivables.
Whenever we got leverage, it was on our property, and it was just cheap money.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you say, Blake, like you were working more than full time, 70, 80 hours a week, right, to operate 7 stores, and you see that that's not sustainable to keep that up, and because we argue this a lot in the buy here, pay here space, is it is an owner. You have to keep your eyes and hands on these businesses or they get out of whack really quick. To your dad's point, right? He was running his place and all of a sudden he's got his 2 top people embezzling from him, and not saying that hopefully none of us have that going on in our dealerships today.
But you hear a lot about it. I mean,
it does happen.
Yeah.
And so you do have to have your hands in this thing. We say it's not an owner absentee business. It's not like buying a McDonald's franchise.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask that. I mean, I'm sure at some point you've been approached by private equity to buy this company. Why have you not sold? And how about the companies that have sold in the situation they're in now? Can you talk to that at all?
Well, let me back up and say I have not really been approached to buy the dealerships. So I mean, you always get approached by some random
right.
Yeah, I mean,
somebody who really can't do it.
Yeah. But in terms of like somebody that really could and wants it, I have never been approached by that. I think that there's a lot of dealers that are doing it successfully, though. I mean, there's certainly in my 20 group. I mean, nearly half our 20 group sold out to various players in the market, where they've sold the dealerships. and then they've collected out the portfolio. So it's worked really well for, I think, all of them. And so I think that is one valid exit strategy.
Collecting out their own portfolio,
Yeah.
but selling the
Sell the nuts and bolts, the cars, the facilities.
assembly line. And,
lease out the properties so you don't lose the properties. So certainly I think that's a way that at some point in my future I may go.
Yeah.
Where, you can't really just stop.
no, you can't. It doesn't work.
Yeah, because if you stop, and I'm sure Tricolor is figuring this out now, is that people stop paying.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can't go to a store that's actually open, if they can't get service, if they can't easily make payments, then they're not going to keep paying. So it's not feasible just to say, okay, I'm going to close down the stores and I'm going to collect out the portfolio and I'm going to call it a day. That doesn't work. So
That's kind of scary when you're an owner. That there's just not a great exit strategy other than what you just described for our industry.
yeah, no, there's not, and certainly for me, I think at some point, once I do that, it'll be simpler for me to do that when I only have a couple stores.
Yeah.
I think it's a little more complicated when I have a bunch of different stores, and somebody might not want to take on all that.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts. But it seems like the cycle of this is what you have to time right as an owner. Because if you think about, we talked in the 2008, it was really rough. 2012, 2010 to 2012, 2014, it ran up really great. And then a lot of these dealers we know got out in the late teens, right? When their portfolios were super healthy, interest rates were pretty low. There were people that could afford to take the debt on to buy your place. And so a lot of those guys got out in that 20 teen area. And it almost looks like now we've kind of missed the boat and we're going to have to wait for the next cycle because debt's got so expensive. Banks don't really have a stomach right now to lend more money for someone to come in and buy your dealership. I don't know if that's something you've experienced, just the cyclical nature of our business.
Well, the cyclical part, absolutely. I mean, if you look, we've never really sold a very large number of notes, but there's been different points in my career where people were paying, in my opinion, too much.
80 cents on the
Yeah.
dollar
Or
or
90
Or more, yeah. And I think you have to be cognizant of that, and we certainly were. And when we saw that, interest rates were at that point just near zero, and people were paying a lot of money, and in my mind, more money than they should have. Yes, we took the opportunity to sell some and deleverage. But in terms of, you have an awful lot of dealers that are my age that are getting near the point of wanting to step away. You don't have as many younger players coming in. It just takes too much money. That's a lot of capital.
The capital's 5 times what it was.
Yeah, more.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
So you do have some bigger players coming in now, and you're starting to see some consolidation, whether it be CarMart or some other players that are picking up stores. And so I think the opportunities are still there.
Yeah.
So
For the right operation.
sure.
Yeah, you say, oh, I want to sell my dealership, but you don't have a real operation.
Yeah, and you're not building it to sell.
Yeah.
You're running it still as a tax haven or something, and maybe not running it to be the most presentable, and then trying to find a buyer that can take it down. I think you've found that issue too, as you've helped dealers sell. Like, okay, I got to find you a qualified buyer here. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, and then people seeing their life work not be worth what other industry life's work are worth.
Yeah.
And people.
Or they're trying to sell it for a multiple.
Yeah, and
Sky,
it just doesn't work in our industry for some reason.
It doesn't, no. I've never seen anybody get any type of significant blue sky or significant multiple.
Which Auto City is worth something, So that it's kind of frustrating the industry we're in because of that, because
it's a long name. It's been there a long time.
67 years, right? Why is it not worth the same thing that a blue oval, if you stuck a blue oval up there, would be worth, right? We could go down a whole nother path of this, but it is frustrating that your life work is relegated to the operation you built and your portfolio.
Yeah.
That's really what it's worth.
Blake, let's wrap this up because we've taken so much of your time and you've been so gracious to give it to us. But where do you see the industry going? Like if you could, from just, I mean, man, you've seen it all, the ups, the downs, the time you've been in the industry.
You're making it sound like I'm really old.
Oh, man, I mean, you were selling buggies and horses back before we had the internal combustion engine. No, but you've just experienced so much and you've seen such a breadth from being a small dirt lot dealership to 7 locations and 5,000 accounts. I mean, not a lot of people are going to, I'm never going to experience that in my lifetime. Where do you see this going? Or do you have any kind of like, if you looked into your crystal ball and gave us some advice, what would it be for like the young up and coming dealer or someone who's starting where you started?
Control your leverage. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. And certainly that's, might be rich coming from me that I, did get up to 60%. But I didn't stay there long. And it certainly has been important because, I mean, I've had a couple of credit lines pulled for no fault of my own just because banks just change their mind.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And when you have a lot of debt, you don't have many choices.
Yeah, I mean, when you have tens of millions of dollars owed and somebody pulls your line,
It's a big one to replace. Yeah.
you don't sleep very well.
That's a small
morning.
list of phone numbers you can call to get that taken over, huh?
But I think that there's still going to be a market for quite some time. I'm not sure that I would want, truthfully, my children to be in this business because I don't know if it lasts their entire lifetime.
Oh wow, I don't disagree. And we've talked about this, autonomous driving platform where you could own a fleet of autonomous cars. I mean, do you see something like that taken by here, pay here out?
I don't think it's in my lifetime.
Okay.
So I think there's plenty of time left to do this and to make a lot of money. But I do think that the newer customer that's being born today is going to do just fine without a car.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be an app on your phone and you're going to say, I need a car at 3 o'clock to take me from here to there, and it's going to be autonomous and it's going to take you from point A to point B. And it's just going to be so much cheaper than having insurance and maintenance and, the depreciation on a car. It's just going to be a lot cheaper for those people to do that.
Yeah, because it's getting more expensive to own a car.
It is. I mean,
crazy expensive.
It's just the cost of repairs now.
Yeah.
I mean, just in the since COVID has just, exploded.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the hardest parts of making all this work now is margins haven't improved,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's really not any better than it was, but yet we're getting squeezed everywhere
Yeah.
in terms of interest and repairs and
Less leverage, less interest expense, for sure. Yeah. But everything else, I've never seen our industry folk be strapped by the margins like it currently is.
It is a tough market. It's a tough market, and then you look at the delinquencies right now. I mean, the delinquencies are super high across the board, not just with us, but I mean, even with the majors.
Yep.
Yeah.
I saw a thing saying that I think 5%.
6% over 60 or something like that for subprime. I mean, it's just insane.
It is, yeah, yeah. And then obviously the customers are stressed, and we certainly are doing everything we can to help the customers, and we're pushing harder than we've ever pushed to try to avoid some type of repeat of that 2008 where we just have a lot of people struggling.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to ask one more question.
Yeah.
For you personally, what's the next 5-10 years look like?
Yeah.
Next 5 years, definitely doing what I'm doing. So I would be bored if I just stopped.
You're not here 80 hours a week.
No. No, you can ask some employees and they'll tell you no. Who is
Who's that guy?
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir, you can't go back there.
Yeah, that's close to that. So I think that certainly over the next 5 years, I mean, I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, we're making money, and
Is it still fun?
mostly.
Yeah.
I enjoy the challenge of it. I enjoy what I do. The most challenging part is just a little bit bored. To be truthful.
I felt that. I felt exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to work 60, 70 hours again. But then again, working what I currently work, I mean, everything's set pretty well. I don't have to do too much.
Man, just go take some collection calls or something.
I'm not that bored.
And no, I completely understand what you're saying, and we see people in the industry like that all the time, that they still have the pedal down at an age because they love the rush of the deal, you know. And you did that as you were growing dealerships and you were growing credit lines and you were looking for new credit lines and you were, you know, changing all these things. That's the rush of a guy like you, right? The visionary. You see it. And so then to be able to have to pull back the reins and say, oh man, I'm used to being a race car driver, but I just got to put it on cruise control because I'm just a bus driver now. You know, that's a real struggle that I think so many in our industry have.
Yeah, so to offset, I'm really searching for what is the alternate things that I can go do and spend money on and invest in. Yeah. I mean, we've fully deleveraged at this point, and so this is just kind of on autopilot.
Yeah. And it cranks off a lot of cash.
That's a great place to be. Yeah.
Well, honestly, looking around your office here, you've done a lot. I mean, I see awards from the state, from NIADA, like you've done a lot for the industry, which is awesome that you've given back too, because a lot of dealers don't do that. We know you're very involved in helping the next generations and even helping the current generation.
And the community.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Yeah. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you for your time, Blake. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.